Before sunrise, you must choose between the block that fills the truck and the block whose fruit actually meets the buyer's grade. The leaves are wet. The first workers are checking the rows. A truck is due at the packing station before lunch, and a buyer expects a shipment to leave the region on schedule. You're not selling a field of green plants. You're trying to turn a living crop into boxes that meet a buyer's specification, survive a long trip, and produce cash before the next crop needs money. That difference controls your day. At 5:40, the field supervisor shows you 2 blocks that are ready to harvest. The first block has fruit that should meet the size and appearance the buyer wants. The second block has more bunches, but the fruit is less even. If you harvest the second block now, you can fill the truck. If you wait, the fruit may improve, but the shipment may leave short. You choose the first block and leave the second for another check. That sounds like a farming decision. It is also a sales decision. A box that is heavy but does not meet the buyer's grade may earn less than a smaller box that arrives in the accepted range. The money does not begin when a bunch appears on a plant. It begins when the right fruit moves through the right chain. You walk the field with the crew. Bananas are not planted, picked, and sold in one afternoon. The plant needs time, water, fertilizer support, workers, and protection from weather and disease. The bunch has to be covered and watched. The harvest date depends on the fruit, the buyer, and the journey after the field. For this morning, you only need to know which bunches can be cut today without creating a problem at the packing line later. At 7 o'clock, a worker points to a damaged support on one plant. If the bunch falls, the fruit can bruise. If you send a bruised bunch into the line, the packers may cut away more than expected. If the box does not meet the buyer's appearance standard, it can be rejected or sold through a lower value channel. You can replace the support now and slow the harvest team, or leave it and hope the plant holds until the bunch is cut. You replace it. The cost is 1 worker and a few minutes. The benefit is not guaranteed, but you are protecting a product that has already consumed months of land and labor. At the field edge, your buyer sends a message. The buyer wants the normal number of boxes, but the acceptable size range is tight this week. A restaurant order and a supermarket promotion are behind the request. The buyer is not asking whether your farm had rain or a broken support. The buyer is asking whether the shipment will be usable. You confirm the size range with the packing manager before the crew cuts more fruit. That call prevents a common mistake, harvesting what is available instead of harvesting what can be sold. By 9:30, the first bunches reach the packing station. The line is simple to watch and easy to underestimate. Workers remove the fruit from the bunch, wash it, check its condition, sort it, weigh it, place it in boxes, label it, and move it toward the truck. Every step can change the value. A bruise missed in the field becomes a rejected piece in the box. A slow wash station creates a line of fruit waiting in the heat. A wrong label can send the right product to the wrong buyer. A box that is too heavy can fail a handling rule. A box that is too light may lose money even if every banana looks good. You stand beside the scale. The first box is underweight. The second is acceptable. The third has a few pieces with marks that may worsen during transport. You can tell the line to pack faster and accept more risk. You can stop the line and inspect every box. You can adjust the standard so the truck leaves full. You choose a short pause and change the sorting instruction. The marked fruit is separated for a different sale. The main line moves again, but the shipment is smaller than the field count suggested. That is the difference between field output and accepted output. You may have a large harvest and a smaller number of boxes that the buyer will pay for at the expected price. At 1100, the truck driver tells you the loading window has moved forward. The port schedule is not waiting for the packing line to feel ready. If the truck misses its window, the boxes may need to sit longer. The next connection may be missed, and the customer may receive fruit later than planned. You have 3 jobs at once. Finish the boxes that can meet the order. Protect the fruit from rough handling. Load in a sequence that lets the truck leave without searching for the right pallets. You put 1 person on labels and 1 on the loading list. The packing manager wants all hands on the line, but a labeling mistake can erase the work of the entire shipment. The truck leaves with fewer boxes than the original field estimate. You're disappointed. You're also looking at the correct number. The buyer accepts the shipment, but 2 boxes are downgraded because the fruit is outside the preferred size. The sale is not lost. The expected price is, now the business has to absorb the difference. The field used water, fertilizer, labor, tools, and land. The packing station used workers, water, power, boxes, and time. The truck used fuel and a scheduled slot. A downgrade does not erase those costs. It reduces the money left after them. You record the reason for the downgrade instead of blaming the whole farm. Was the fruit harvested too early? Did the field block have uneven growth? Did the sorting instruction change too late? Did the boxes wait too long before loading? Each answer points to a different decision for the next cycle. In the afternoon, you return to the field. The second block is still not ready for the same buyer. You could harvest it to keep the crew busy. You could leave it and use the crew on support, weed control, and water checks. You choose the work that protects the next harvest date. This is one of the strange parts of a crop business. A worker can be busy, and the crop can still be late. Activity is not the same as progress. The question is whether the work protects fruit that can become an accepted sale. You check the irrigation lines. One line is weaker than the others. The plants have not failed, but the uneven water may show up later as uneven fruit. You repair it now, before the symptom appears in the packing station. You also check the leaves for signs that require a specialist's attention. Bananas also face plant health risks that require early reporting, clean tools, and controlled movement. You do not treat every stressed leaf as a confirmed disease. You make the uncertainty visible before careless movement makes it larger. You keep tools clean, control movement between blocks, and report suspicious signs through the proper plant health process. Then you return to the harvest. At 4:30, the buyer calls again. The accepted shipment arrived with fewer downgraded boxes than expected. The buyer will pay on the agreed schedule, but asks whether the next shipment can be more consistent. You cannot promise perfect fruit. You can promise a better handoff. For the next cycle, you move the field check earlier. You mark the blocks by expected harvest window. You give the packing manager the buyer's size range before the crew starts. You keep a separate lane for fruit that is safe but not in the main grade. You add a loading check so the truck does not become the first place a labeling error is discovered. None of these changes makes the plant grow faster. They increase the chance that the fruit you grow becomes the fruit you sell. The next shipment gives you a chance to test the new process. You mark the field blocks by harvest window before the crew begins. The packing manager receives the buyer's size range in writing. The truck plan includes the number of accepted boxes, not the number of bunches that might be cut. The finance manager puts the expected payment date beside the labor and packing costs. At 6:30, rain delays the field crew by 2 hours. The old plan would have sent everyone to the packing station and tried to catch up later. The new plan keeps the packing line ready for the fruit that can still arrive inside the safe window. A smaller team checks the next block and repairs support lines. You do not force the field to produce a number it cannot produce safely in the weather. At 10:00, the first load arrives. The fruit is in the right size range, but one pallet has labels printed for the wrong buyer. The error is found before loading because the label check is separate from the person who packed the boxes. You reprint the labels and lose 20 minutes. If the truck had left, the buyer might have received the right fruit under the wrong instruction. At the port, the driver reports that the planned connection is still open. The shipment arrives later than the original target, but inside the buyer's accepted window. The farm does not receive a bonus for having a clean process. It receives the chance to keep the normal price. The next day, the buyer sends a quality note. One box has more variation than expected. You trace it to a block that was harvested at the edge of the window. You do not change the entire farm plan because of one box. You tighten the check for that block and keep it separate from the blocks that are more consistent. At the end of the week, you sit with finance and put 4 facts on one page: what the field produced, what the packing line handled, what the buyer accepted, and when the cash arrives. The first number can make the farm look healthy, while the third and fourth show a cash problem. The crop is living inventory. Harvest too early, pack too slowly, or ship too late, and months of work can still return less money. The next business problem is payment timing. The buyer accepts the boxes on Tuesday, but the cash does not arrive on Tuesday. Workers still need to be paid, and the field still needs water and fertilizer. A shipment can look profitable on paper and still make the next week uncomfortable if the money comes later than the bills. You put the accepted grade, the downgraded grade, the transport cost, and the payment date on the same page. The field team wants more volume. The packing team wants a steadier flow. Finance wants to protect cash. You set the next target from the buyer's confirmed order, not from the number of bunches the field could produce. You're not simply watching plants grow. You're deciding when to harvest, which standard to protect, and where one worker's hour can still become cash. The day began with a truck waiting for boxes. It ends with a shipment accepted, 2 boxes downgraded, and a field block deliberately left for the right harvest window. A casual observer might say you left money in the field. You know the real test comes months later, when the buyer opens the box and finds exactly what you promised.